All right, everyone. A first in the 2024 election. Donald Trump now leads Joe Biden in every aggregated recent poll. This is the first time that this has happened. Never happened in 2016. Never happened in 2020. In fact, in 2020, there was never a point at which he was in the lead in more than one poll at a time, and that only happened 2 or 3 times in the whole general election. Donald Trump is cleaning Biden's clock at the moment. He's more than 4 points ahead in the aggregate. He was 4 points behind in the aggregate in 2016 when he won. He was 10 points behind almost in the aggregate in 2020 when he supposedly lost by a couple 100,000 votes. I don't think going into the election, if these numbers remain stable, that there are enough ballot printers in the world to give Joe Biden the election. I think that he would be absolutely creamed. If national polling continues to move in Trump's direction, and based on the border crisis, inflation, various diplomatic foibles, crime, and so forth happening in the world right now, I have no reason to believe that it won't. If Trump ends up at +5 on Election Day, and I do expect narrowing, but I expect him to be ahead, he will win. He'll win handily. If he's picking up an extra 10 million votes over what he got in 2020 in that aggregate, which those numbers would suggest roughly that big a swing, it's all over. There's no possibility that Biden's turnout would be high enough to override that. He's lagging now with independent voters. As I analyzed in Biden's approval polling, the fact that the approval fell slower than the disapproval was rising by about a 2-to-1 margin indicates independent voters are swinging away from him. So it's people that before were indifferent, but now they disapprove of him, in other words. That's several million voters, by the way, over the course of a short couple of months in which that's been happening. And it's still happening now. We'll be talking about that polling in the future. There was never a moment in either of the previous elections where Trump managed to accomplish this. And keep in mind, a couple of these firms seem to have been chronically undersampling Trump's support. So it could be a wider gap than that. But Sticks, you're not supposed to trust polls, you may say. I don't. I trust aggregates of polls, generally speaking. For instance, in 2020, I expected that Trump would have a boost against the polling. And indeed he did. It was about a 5-point swing, actually, between how much he lagged behind Biden and the final result. Despite the fact that supposedly he lost by 10 trillion zillion votes and 100 scoops of ice cream. Yeah, take him out behind the woodshed, Jack. Despite that, Trump narrowly lost in a handful of states. Of course, we know there were also shenanigans going on at the time. We've got plenty of evidence of that, despite what the legacy media would tell you. But he was behind, clearly behind. There was never a polling period in which he was ahead. In 2016, there were a couple of brief moments where he had enough positive polling, so he was like a point ahead of Hillary Clinton. Generally, he lagged behind her. In the late stage, he was 4.5 points behind in the aggregate. He ended up 2.5 behind in the final results. Again, you had a swing towards Trump. What would happen if you had a swing of 2 or 3 points towards Trump, and this is how the polling looks at the end? Trump +7 or thereabouts? Yeah, no, considering that the gap would be larger than the eventual 4.5 that Biden won by in an election where he barely squeaked by, Trump would absolutely annihilate him. He'd probably win Virginia. He'd be competitive in New Hampshire. He'd grab up all the swing states he had before. Michigan and Georgia look like they're basically off the goddamn table for Biden at this point. They're not even looking like swing states right now. They look like red states. You know, we're approaching like, Indiana levels of gap or something like that. And these are states that until fairly recently politically were getting more and more blue. I mean, is Trump going to end up cracking into Oregon or something like that, pulling off some legendary win in Illinois? Have you looked at the New York polling? In New York, Biden leading by barely double digits in one of the, well, at least formerly, one of the bluest states in the union. Republicans would be crazy to count on winning New York. It's probably not going to happen unless something absolutely catastrophic occurs. The Democrats totally fucked themselves. Biden is exposed as you've got proof of him on Epstein Island doing crazy shit or something like that, and he loses 10 points of support. The Republicans would be crazy for that, but the electoral map shouldn't look this bad for the Democrats. And the thing is, it's all self-inflicted too. Biden's reckless spending caused the Bidenflation that's still sticky and is still hurting people's wallets. Biden is the key cause of the current border crisis, or borderless crisis, I think we should deem it at this point. Biden's weak policies are why the crime rate continued to inch upwards. It's inching back down now, but it's got a ways to go before it's You know, not at a recent high, you know, since the 2000s or thereabouts. Trump is leading everywhere. He's ahead in 5 of the 6 swing states, although we don't have enough polling to see where it is now. He keeps pulling ahead nationally. Part of it is Biden has lost a bit more support, but some of that is organic growth for Trump. He's up near 50 now. He's getting towards the magical 50 in national polling. Again, he's under 90 felony indictments. He's supposedly the retarded version of Adolf Hitler. He's supposedly a fascist madman who's going to become dictatorial the second he gets into office, probably having run from a prison cell. The Democrats somehow are losing against him. And not just losing a little, but losing a lot. What does that say about the Democratic Party? This isn't all just the strength of Trump. This isn't just Trump's ideas are good, and generally speaking they were. This isn't just the fact that people are matching up policy-wise, what it was like under Trump and now what it's like under Beijing Biden. It's not just that, it's an organic weakness of the Biden administration and its self-strangulating capability of doing anything. Literally strangling themselves. The Republicans are not the ones inflicting damage on the Democrats. The Democrats are punching themselves. It's like watching some legendary boxer up against some shrimpy moron, because the Republican Party, by and large, they're pathetic. Other than Trump and Rand and a few others, most of them don't know what the fuck they're doing. So they're not really capable of going up against this solid brick of muscle. But the muscular dude, for some reason, he went a little bit funny, and now he's beating himself up in the corner. And the shrimpy dude, like, he's trying to be defeated. He keeps going there trying to get hit in the head, because that's, again, what Republicans like to do, is lose with grace. I mean, the other dude just keeps punching himself in the face. It's sort of like that House episode where at the beginning, there's that football player, he just goes crazy, and he, like, starts punching people, and then he starts hitting himself in the head with his own helmet and going crazy, and I can't remember what he was diagnosed with. I thought it was funny, by the way. I burst out laughing because it's just so hilarious. Should look that up later for a quick chuckle. I guess I don't have to. I can just watch the Democratic Party. They have no messaging right now. It's inexplicable. Again, you should be winning, by all accounts. Under a normal historical metric, the Democrats should be handily beating the Republicans up and down the ballot, from Biden to the Senate to the House. But they keep making conditions so poor in the United States and making so many foreign policy mistakes that they can't help but lose. You're acting like Republicans more than you are Democrats. What the hell is wrong with you? It's funny to watch. I mean, I'm Team Trump, so, I mean, I welcome it. I welcome the fact that Joe Biden is a miserable failure. I'd rather it not trickle down to damage to the economy or to the average person or to their neighborhood being overrun by illegals or something like that. Unfortunately, it takes misery and suffering for people to wake up to how miserable the administration is. Very unfortunate. At least it's beginning to impact voting blocs that disproportionately supported Joe Biden and voted for the goddamn policies. That's about all. Peace out.